thought I might record a little bit of a voiceover just to describe the process. So there's a little animation I did for the ear of the water rabbit. I used procreate for it. It's just a simple action. Water drops down, forms a rabbit, and the rabbit leaps off screen. So I kind of just did a lot of stuff fairly straight ahead, just going from one position to the next position to begin with. I then went in afterwards to tidy up the follow through for the ears. You can see here I'm figuring out the rabbit dropping from the sky, so to speak, using liberal squash and stretch, and a little bit of bounce up as well after the initial impact, with the leading action of the head as well as it gets into that resting position, and a small bit of follow through in the ears. So again, just seeing how I can manage the follow through on the ears as the head turns as well, trying to keep the rabbit looking less geometric, a bit more organic, but still trying to keep the shapes quite broad and clean. Here we have a little bit of a pinwheeling in the air of the rabbit's legs, or what would look like the legs. Going back in here now to figure out the leaf and this drop, where's it coming from? So I'm animating a leaf being dragged down by the weight of the raindrop, and then it breaks. You can see little bits of water splashing away. So it goes down and breaks. Here I just started doing some tidy up on the line work, and then it was into doing some color work. So the palette, again, simple enough. I was going to work with lines really, other than around the rabbit itself. A little bit of a highlight on the water, and a small bit of a shadow as well once we get to the ground plane. So here are the outlines for the rabbit updated. For beats like this where the rabbit was kind of in a held position, I had a little bit of a boil on that shadow. You'll see it later on when I start doing the highlight that I applied a similar bit of a wobble. So yeah, just working through the highlights here then. Just again to give it a little bit of translucency, but still that it has specular quality too. I dropped in a background behind it just to check to see how readable things are, and started using a little bit of the smudge tool. I also used the smudge tool to shove over some of the white highlights to make it more readable where the eyes are, and even blend together certain parts of the highlights so it is more contiguous, less broken up. Just makes things a little bit easier to read as they're moving. And here's that little pinwheel again, and the squash, and the turn, and then the leap. So the last thing I did was just add a little shadow underneath the leaves there. And here it is again. Took about 2 to 3 hours maybe totally. Kept it quite broad and quite simple, and didn't use a lot of drawings, thankfully. I'm going to try and do some more of these in the future, so if you have any questions or requests, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thanks again for your support. Bye bye.